The World Bank has recently come out with suggestions for the establishment of new special economic zones in South Africa. The South African government have seemingly responded with enthusiasm, but the reality is that the type of economic zones they envision is radically different from what the World Bank or the world's leading free market economists are suggesting. In fact, what they have in mind is exactly the opposite of what the people of this country need for any true kind of economic freedom and prosperity in this country. Stay tuned, because in today's video we are going to explore why we shouldn't get any excited about Ramaphosa's new special economic zones planned for this country. Last week, the city of Durban hosted the second International Special Economic Zones Infrastructure and Investment Conference. This was an initiative by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition together with the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government. President Cyril Ramaphosa did not in fact attend the event, but addressed the gala dinner virtually, and while his address for the most part focused on the past performances of these special economic zones over the past decade or so, since they were first introduced, one comment did stand out: the possibility of privately owned special economic zones. According to Ramaphosa, special economic zones have performed much better than the rest of the country. According to a recent released World Bank report, over the past 11 years, South Africa's 12 special economic zones have attracted more than 34 billion rands in investment, created more than 30,000 jobs, and generated more than 14 billion rand in revenue. Of course, it must be kept in mind that these weren't all new jobs, and the revenue isn't all the money added to the economy. These zones were, of course, already economically productive areas before they were proclaimed as special economic zones, but that there are some positive signs that are indeed encouraging. Now, South Africa currently has 12 of these designated special economic zones. Two each in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, and then one in the Northwest, the Free State, and in Mpumalanga, and of course one in Limpopo. Of the 12, only 10 are currently even operational, however. But what is a special economic zone exactly? And how does doing business in a special economic zone actually affect the producer or the employer and their workforce? Well, the idea of special economic zones in South Africa was established by the Special Economic Zones Act 16 of 2014. Under this act, the national or provincial government establishes and governs the zone where businesses can apply to do business. If a business is granted a license to operate in the zone, the major benefit is that it is only paying a 15% corporate income tax rate, compared with the ordinary 27% that all other businesses in the rest of the country has to pay. On top of this, businesses in special economic zones can also receive employment tax relief as well as duty-free importation of machinery and production inputs. And so, the idea is to make these zones good for businesses to operate in. And with the latest conference, the department has proposed the possibility of several new specially built economic zones. But one key aspect that we have to look at was notably absent from the recent conference, as well as Ramaphosa's whole speech, and that has been the one key proposal from the World Bank. The one thing it highlights in the most recent report is absolutely essential to true economic development, and that is privately owned and run special economic zones without the restrictive black economic empowerment rules which currently rule the government-run special economic zones. You see, while these zones are made much better for conducting business or to run businesses in, it is restricted to a certain racial classification in South Africa. Only black people can benefit from the special economic zones and the fact that they pay less taxes and can get all of these other benefits. The World Bank has pointed to the model implemented in Singapore, where private developers commonly receive long-term notarial leases bear the developmental costs and sublet industrial premises to tenants. But even more emphatically, the report makes a further proposal to let private companies manage entire zones on their own. This would entail private companies completely taking over infrastructural functions from the government, including maintaining and building roads, taking over electricity and water supply, as well as official reporting of investment, export and job figures, and imposing internal operational rules. Now, such regulations would make a major difference, of course, and therefore it is shameful that our government has failed to embrace these very necessary steps with the necessary enthusiasm. But there is one far more important economic incentive that the ANC absolutely tries to block at all costs, and that is relaxing the country's economically detrimental labor laws and even more detrimental black economic empowerment laws in these zones. This wouldn't even be an unprecedented move. The reality is that internationally there are actually existing examples of countries in which special economic zones do exactly this. One of the clearest examples is the 4 principal special economic zones of Saudi Arabia. Here, companies enjoy much greater flexibility to employ foreign workers, making them exempt from quotas concerning employing a certain number of Saudi citizens. Another example is the Dubai International Financial Center and the Abu Dhabi Global Market, which also operate under their own labor regime. Each of these economic zones has its own probation and termination rules and its own employment dispute mechanisms and labor court system away from more restrictive national laws. Now imagine what would happen if the government announced an economic zone within the borders of South Africa that could simply be exempt from all BEE regulations. Imagine a place where companies selected suppliers on quality and on price, appointed the most competent people regardless of their race, and invested without having to surrender ownership to politically connected partners of the right race. Imagine the billions in capital that would flood into such a zone. Moreover, South African expats who had taken their skills, their savings and their businesses abroad would suddenly have a reason to return to their fatherland. International manufacturers that currently bypass this country completely would gain a foothold from which to employ our people, process our resources, and export products to the world. Factories, workshops, warehouses, technology companies, and training institutions would begin clustering together, not because bureaucrats commanded them to do it, but because opportunity to get rid of this extremely oppressive black economic empowerment regime, which is so discriminatory against people of the wrong race, attracted more opportunity. Imagine a place where a young Afrikaner entrepreneur could build a company without being punished for his skin color, where his children could inherit this enterprise he spent his entire life creating without surrendering their entire wealth to the state, where a farmer, an engineer, or an artisan could compete for contracts purely on his skills, his merit, and his price. Imagine thousands of ordinary people finding dignified work because employers are finally free to hire the most capable and competent applicant rather than satisfy a racial spreadsheet enforced on it by the South African government. The consequences of such a special economic zone would be almost unfathomably superb. Here at the Willem Petsche Group, we've actually also made suggestions to such in the past. Our research team spends days evaluating various innovative socio-political and socio-economical models that are being rolled out internationally in other countries. And we are constantly evaluating the path forward for increased self-determination and economic prosperity as a means of securing a future for our children. We are all in this together, and this fight is for all of us, and you can fight right alongside us for this cause by simply following the easy steps on the banner and becoming a patron of our organization. Because the reality is that as things stand, actually implementing the measures to save this country's economy is the very last thing Ramaphosa's government wants to do, even though they are so easy to do. They are driven by this ideology that simply does not allow for free market economic measures that the people of this country so desperately need. This is why we are doing what we are doing, producing all of this research every single day to take the fight to the public domain and to get people discussing this very solution that they otherwise would not even have known about. In a recent video, we highlighted the desperate need to do away with the liberal multiculturalist ideology underpinning the Rainbow Nation ideal. We highlighted how it was time for something better, a new political dispensation that can truly serve the interests of all the nations and peoples of South Africa. You can check out that full analysis by clicking on this link appearing on your screen right now. And if you watch this video until the very end and you do appreciate our work, you are exactly the right person to help us in this fight by becoming a patron of our organization. Just do what the details on the bottom of your screen are saying. Thank you, goodbye, and God bless every single one of you.